Chapter 9, Part 2 of The Seven Stairs by Stuart Brent. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 9, Bark Point, Part 2. In this world that is entirely elemental, each man wrestles with the direct necessities of living. This is not conducive to small talk, to worrying about losing a pound or gaining a pound, or figuring out where to spend one's free time. When there is time for relaxation, the talk usually turns to old times, fables of the world as it used to be, the giant fish once caught, rainbows weighing 50 pounds, browns weighing 70, steelheads by the droves. And behind all of this lies the constant awareness that Lake Superior is an ocean, never to be trifled with, never taken for granted. The women are strongly built and beautiful, with low, almost sing-song voices. Their yes is a ya, so sweetly inflected that you want immediately to imitate it and can't. Their simple homes are handsomely furnished through their own labors. When I dropped in, unexpected, I was certain to receive a quiet, sincere greeting that put me at ease and assured me I was no intruder. There would be a glass of tea or coffee, and a thick slice of homemade bread spread with butter and a variety of jams. Nearly everything in the household was made by hand, all the clothing, even the shoes. And just about everything outside the household, too, including the fine boats. Even today it is possible to live like a king at Bark Point on $1,500 a year. Under one condition: one must learn to endure loneliness, and one must be capable of doing things for himself. The people around Bark Point have radios and television sets, automobiles and tractors and other machines, but the people come first, the machines second. Bark Point people do not waste time questioning existence. They laugh and eat and sleep without resorting to pills. They have learned to renounce and to accept, but there is no room in their lives for resignation and pessimism. However, they do suspect that the world outside is mostly populated by madmen, or, as one of my neighbors said to me, "What do you call dogs that foam at the mouth?" When I go to Bark Point, it occurs to me that what the world needs is more private clubs, more private estates, and exclusive residential areas, more private centers of entertainment, anything that will isolate the crass from the mainstream of life and let them feed upon themselves, anything that will keep them away from the people of Bark Point. The master builder of Bark Point is a 77-year-old man named Matt LaPella. When one asks Matt a question, his invariable reply is, "I'll look of it." Look of it means that he will measure the problem, work it in his mind, and provide the answer. He lives in a house built entirely by his own hands. If he needs a tool for a job and no such tool exists, he invents it. His energy and capacity for sustained work is amazing for a man of any age. He has built almost everything we possess at Bark Point. A few summers ago, we decided to build a dock to protect our beach and secure our boat against the fierce northeaster. So Matt and I took the boat and set out to look for logs washed up on the shores of Bark Bay. There was no hesitation on Matt's part as we hurried from log to log. "Good," he would say. "This is cedar." "No good. This is poplar." "This is good. This is Norway pine." "No good. This is rotten in the middle." And so from log to log, Matt in the lead with the cant hook on his back, and with me following behind, trying as hard as I could to keep up. When the selection had been made, Matt offered to teach me how to tie the logs so we could tow them over the lake to our shore. It looked easy, but it required an almost occult knowledge of weights and forces to determine exactly the right place to tie the rope so the log would not slip and jam the motor or slam against the side of the boat. Everything there is to be known about leverage Matt knows, including the most subtle use of ropes and pulleys for the least expense to the human back. The building of the crib for our dock was one of the wonders of the world, executed with the quickness and sureness of a man who knows and loves what he is doing. Or if any difficulty arose with material too stubborn to bend to his thinking, I could virtually see him recast his thought to fit the situation. Matt is slight of build, and the eyes behind his spectacles are sparkling blue. When he first got the glasses, they were not fitted to his satisfaction, so he improved them by grinding the lenses himself. He reminds me in many ways of my own father, who had a bit of Matt's genius and versatility. When I see Matt work, I seem to see my father again, building, planning, dreaming, trying to make something out of nothing. Irvin owns the general store in Herbster. Every week he drives his truck to Duluth for supplies, carrying with him a frayed, pocket-sized notebook in which he has written down everything people have asked for. Once I had a chance to look through this notebook, which Irvin treasures with his life. Only Irvin could possibly know what was written in it. Irvin's capacity for eating is marvelous to behold. While the children stare at him in petrified wonder, he will put together a sandwich of cheese, sausage, fish, butter, meatballs, even strips of raw meat. His capacity for work is equally limitless. He is a powerful man and can wrestle with bags of cement all day long, but he cannot catch fish. At least that is his story and his claim to fame in the area, never to have caught a fish that amounted to anything. I don't believe a word of it. Irvin fights many of the same business battles I have fought, with no capital and extended credit. He worries about it, but the odds are a challenge to him. You cannot long endure at Bark Point unless you are capable of meeting challenges. In addition to his appalling eating habits, Irvin chews tobacco and is a horrifying master of the art. He showed our boys the full range of techniques employed for spitting out of a fast-moving truck, and they thought it was wonderful. But he has also taught them all about the bears and deer and foxes and wolves and other wildlife that abound in our forest. He helped me with the plans for our house, with the boat, with the art of reading a compass, and with the geography of the myriad lakes and streams hidden throughout the area. Irvin knows everything and says very little. He is easy to be with, and a solid friendship based upon mutual respect has grown between us. When spring begins to come, something that has been kept buried in our winter hearts can no longer be suppressed. The children start saying, "We'll be leaving for Bark Point soon, won't we?" One spring day, when the children were on vacation from school, I packed the boys into the car, and we set out for an early visit to our spiritual home. The day of our arrival was clear and beautiful. The ice had gone out of the bay, and clumps of snow remained only here and there. New grass was coming up from the steaming earth. There were pink-flecked clouds in the sky, and a glorious smell everywhere that filled us both with peace and exhilaration. But early the next morning it began to snow, coming down so thick and fast it was a sight to behold. My exclusively summer experience of the North Country warned me of nothing. We delighted in the snowy wonderland, seen from the snugness of the house, and bundled up in heavy clothes and boots to go out and revel in it. It snowed all through the night. On the following morning it seemed to be coming on stronger than ever. I phoned Irvin. Fortunately, the telephone lines were still working. He thought the snow might stop by evening. "How are your supplies?" he said. "Still okay," I said. "What about fuel?" "Wayno gave me a supply of wood and briquettes for the stove yesterday." "Have you got enough?" "Yes, so far." "Good. As soon as it stops, I'll be up with the truck." But the snow did not stop. The following day it lay 10 feet high and was still coming. Irvin called again. "The roads are closed," he said. "I can't get to you. Can you hold out?" "Yes," I said, "but I'm starting to cut up the furniture for the stove, and I'm worried about the children." "I'll come up the minute I can get there," he said, "but I can't do nothing about it yet." It snowed for 3 days and 3 nights without a let-up. I tried to keep awake, dozing in a chair, never daring to let the fire go out. We had long since run out of fuel oil, but luckily we had the wood-burning cook-stove. I broke up 2 tables, all the chairs, and was ruefully contemplating the wooden dresser. The phone had gone dead, and we were completely isolated. It was night. The snow was up to the windows, and it was still coming on, a dark world shot with white flecks dancing and swirling. The whole thing seemed completely impossible. But it was happening, and there was nothing to do but wait it out. We had no milk, but there was water and a small supply of tea and coffee. There was flour, too, and we made bread without yeast or salt. It tasted terrible, but we ate it and laughed about it. I read or played cribbage with the boys. They played with their fishing reels, oiled them, took them apart, put them back together, took them apart again. We waited. The morning the snow stopped, we were greeted by bright sunlight, hot on the window panes. Everyone jumped up and down and yelled, "Yay!" But how to get out of the house? We were snowed in completely. About noon, Irvin called. The lines were fixed, and Bill Loma was working like crazy with his tractor, opening the Bark Bay Road. Everyone had been alerted to our plight, and help would be on the way. Several more hours passed. We were without food or fuel, and I still hated the idea of chopping up that dresser. Then, all at once, our savior was in sight. Irvin in his truck, way down the main road and still unable to get anywhere near our driveway. There was no restraining the children in their excitement. The yelling and shouting was enough to waken the dead. I found myself laughing and yelling too, and waving madly to Irvin. We were all behaving as though we were going to a picnic instead of getting out of a frightful jam. Finally, Bill came lumbering up the road with his snowplow, and in 15 minutes cut a huge pathway to the house. We came out and danced around Irvin's truck as it backed slowly into the driveway. "Where's your car?" Irvin asked. We had to look around. It was completely buried. I had even forgotten I had it. Working together, we cleared the snow away. I tried starting the motor, but nothing happened. Irvin attached a chain to the car and pulled it up the road. This time the motor turned over, but so suddenly and my reflexes were so slow that before I knew it, the car had swerved off the wet road into a ditch. I was fit to be tied. Getting the car onto the road from the muddy embankment took an hour. Finally it was done, and all was well. We retired to the house and made a feast of the supplies Irvin had brought, eating as though we were never likely to see food again, building Irvin-style sandwiches and consuming them with Irvin gusto. Occasionally Irvin would cast around and say something droll about the absence of chairs and having to sit on the edge of a dresser. Everything seemed hilariously funny. It was the best party I ever had. When June arrives, we organize our caravan and steal away in the early hours of the morning. 6 children, the maid, 2 cats, 3 birds, 2 golden retrievers. Hope and I and all the luggage packed into a station wagon. Gypsies have to get out of town while the city sleeps. At first, our spirits are high. The babies, Amy and Lisa, play or sit quietly. Then restlessness sets in. David and Jonathan become fidgety. David playfully slaps Jonathan, and the battle begins. I lose my temper and bawl at both of them. Then Lisa gets tired and tries to sleep on Hope and Amy and me in the front seat. Now Susan wants some water, and David calls out from the back of the wagon, "I'm sick." Amy now wants to sleep too, so in the front seat we have me at the wheel, Lisa, Amy, Hope, and Big Joe in Hope's arms. In the center of the car are Susan, the maid, and the 2 dogs. In the back, David and Jonathan, the birds and the cats, and everything that we couldn't tie on top in the luggage carrier. But we are off. And amid confusion and frayed nerves, and much laughter also, we shared a secret joy, a gypsy joy, and the knowledge that our spiritual refuge lies ahead, and so many useless cares and dehumanizing pressures drop farther and farther behind us. Bill Roman, who has made an art of living life simply, worries about the inroads of those who seem determined to despoil what remains of this crude but civilized outpost, where I have learned so much about what is truly human. He is concerned about the hunters who come up from the big cities to slaughter deer and leave them rotting in the fields. They are only on hand a short while, with their shiny boots and gaudy jackets and their pockets full of money, but they create nothing but noise and havoc. When they finally leave, Bark Point repairs the damage, but each year it is a little worse. In a few more years, Bill fears, Bark Point could become a resort town like Mercer or Eagle River. If it does, he says, he'll move to Canada. Personally, I don't think we can afford to surrender any more outposts. In our culture and in the remnants of community living that still center around values that make for human dignity, I still say, let the despoilers feed upon one another, encourage their self-segregation away from the mainstream of life. Even give them junk books if that is all their feeble moments of introspection can bear, but never, never surrender. End of Chapter 9.
Please subscribe to update new videos. Please share and like if you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much.